The Last of Us is one of the most iconic games of the 21st century. The sensational game, praised by critics and players, became, for some time, the champion in the number of awards. After such a sales success, the game fell into the tight fetters of the greed of its creators. The game managed to sell several more times in a row, making a pseudo-remaster, the very next year, releasing a prequel comic, The Last of Us, American Dreams, which they also managed to sell and re-release a few more times, and releasing the DLC, The Last of Us, Left Behind, for both versions of the game, PS3 and PS4, which was then put on sale as a standalone game. Thus, Left Behind ceased to be a DLC, but became an add-on. Yes, I have not seen this for a long time. But, God bless this studio. How is the game? What can I say in short? The game is definitely good. Not a masterpiece, but good. Studio Naughty Dog has done a very high-quality job. The zombie apocalypse setting was given a second wind, presenting it at a new level of seriousness and realism, both in terms of directing and staging. With impressive acting, world detail and so on. Let's analyze each component of a video game work. Let's find out if everything is so smooth with the game. Are there things that are badly done in the game? And who is the real antagonist of the story? The genre of the game is action-adventure. Gameplay mechanics, climbing system, leveling, melee weapons, puzzles are all part of the action-adventure genre. Also in the game there are gameplay mechanics from other genres. Shooting, from the shooter genre, stealth, the advantage of opponents over players, from survival horror, crafting items, survival. And in the end, the developers more or less coped with everything. Actually, the genre is theirs, they know what to do. Now we will analyze each item separately, but before that we will mention the complexity. When it comes to difficulty, there are two things to consider. Difficulty, as a game, and difficulty in terms of thoughtfulness of the mechanics of the gameplay. As a game, The Last of Us isn't difficult. In this regard, it is an average toy, there is no particular challenge. But in this case, it does not affect the quality. But what affects is the complexity of the mechanics themselves. And everything is fine here. The stealth and combat system harmonize well with each other. If you want to cut everyone down, you will have to think about supplies and study the location in order to think about the escape route. If you want to go purely on stealth, there will be a good such puzzle. The combat system consists of close combat and gun shooting. Since the game is not deep, this is when the game consists of several genres. That is, the shooter mechanics have remained mechanics without turning into a full-fledged genre. The combat system should be analyzed in one section, unified. Close combat offers us a fight with fists and several items: a board, a pipe, an axe, a bat, a machete. The battle process itself is, well, honestly, the most casual, one button. But the developers knew that this was a problem, so they tried to hide and embellish it. They succeeded. The fight looks incredibly juicy and pleasant. We got out. The finishing touches are just amazing. Here they also demonstrated excellent camera work. Interaction with the location, finish off with a foot, breaking the skull into the floor, smashing the head against the table, closet or wall. Thanks to these details, the player will, with or without reason, run into hand-to-hand combat to enjoy this spectacle. Each animation conveys all the weight and power emanating from the characters, which enhances the immersion in what is happening. I will briefly talk about firearms, since they are not an independent evaluative element in the game. Shooting is great fun. There are many types and groups of weapons. The bow, like the knife, is a stealth weapon. All is well in return. The weight in the game is not particularly felt. Only while aiming, when we play as Ellie. It looks like she's having a hard time. There are also bombs and Molotov cocktails. The combat itself implements immersiveness quite well, but this is not without the help of stealth. Fights really can be different every time. In the game, according to the classics, leveling consists of two sections: character leveling and arsenal leveling. As for weapons, if you play on easy, there will be enough resources to pump everything, but on the realism difficulty level, pumping will work differently. There are so few resources that you have to think about what to download, based on what style of passage you have chosen. Naturally, you need to pump the survivability of the knife, because it is not only your salvation from death, when you were captured, but also the key to all the doors behind which there is valuable loot. Melee weapons are improved by survivability and the ability to kill with one hit. Pumping is carried out on workbenches, for the resource, junk, which you collect as you progress. The pumping process itself is divided into several levels of skills. But in order to unlock those very skills, you will have to search the locations very carefully, since the levels are as linear as possible. Character leveling. In general, there are no questions about leveling, everything is working. The logic is a little doubtful. For example, it was annoying that the protagonist in the original aims like a drunken drunk, and he has been working as a smuggler for more than a year, and accordingly it is necessary to pump the stability of his aiming. This creates an artificial branch. That is, the game forces it to download. The pumping itself is realized at the expense of the second currency, additives. They are scattered around the map in the form of pills or plants. Pumping is basic, simple, uncomplicated, but works great, and most importantly, really useful. On this, the first part with a review and analysis of the game, The Last of Us, came to an end. Be sure to subscribe to the RTV Gaming channel so as not to miss the continuation and new